Hi guys, it's Dr. John here with my opinion of this new song by Bob Dylan. I've been a Dylan follower for a long time, and probably about 35 years, and I thought that I would take a look at this new song by him. I haven't really followed him so much over the last 10, 15 years, probably because I thought, well, he's getting older, I'm getting older, and we probably have less in common, less to say to each other that's important. But this was a chance to get back and see where he's at right now. And I've had a lot of interpretations of the song that seem interesting, but obviously the first point of view one is likely to have is that it's just taking a seminal event in comparatively recent history and hanging a kind of view of Americana around it, a kind of new American Pie. But that's a great song, but it's not so easy a thing to do, and I thought of possibly an old Dylan just doing that. And when I heard it was made up of a lot of references to old songs and old movies and characters and folk songs and blues people and so on and so forth, I thought, yeah, for sure, that's just Dylan kind of hanging a lot of his ideas about Americana on a past seminal event. However, I've had a chance to take a look at it, and I don't really think it's that at all anymore. Just how good it is, I wouldn't like to comment at the moment. It's far better than I thought it was when I first heard about it and initially took a look at the lyrics. It hangs together, I think, very well as a work of art. So how great we will consider it to be as time passes by, I'm not sure, but it's certainly something that he thought about and something that means a lot to him and something that has relevance to his lives and probably to other people's lives as well. I don't have all day, so let's get into it. I think that just make sure I think I've got the lyrics here, so make sure I can access them. I think it kind of breaks down into three sections. The first section is it's a long song, but it breaks down into these three sections. The first section is a consideration of what happened to Kennedy and the actual event itself. The second section seems to be more about Dylan, perhaps, or a kind of equating of the president and Dylan and the way they think and the way they were thinking. And the final section is where he starts talking about Wolfman Jack and play me this and play me that. It seems to be a reference to the post-Kennedy American world. And I'll say more about the way he views that later on. The first thing to say is that he obviously sees this as a very seminal event. Of course it was, but personally seminal. It's something that obviously touched him deeply. And I've never really heard Dylan talk much or at all about the Kennedy killing. There's the old Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil, who killed Kennedy when... Don't ask who killed Kennedy when really it was you and me. But I've never heard Dylan say much about it. Here it's pretty clear that it meant a lot to him, and he was moved by it. So the first section seems to be an account of actually what happened, but perhaps for Dylan, this is something that we've never heard from him before. His view of what happened to Kennedy, and I think that it's important to take a look at Dylan's life at this time, because in November 1963. Dylan had brought out his first two albums, He'd had the success of the freewheeling Bob Dylan. He'd already recorded The Times They Are Changing, so that was in the can and ready to be released. And after Kennedy was killed, okay, it came out, The Times They Were Changing, but there was a change in Dylan's attitude away from that civil protest kind of Dylan to the rock and roll Dylan. And it has been said that, or it's on record as with Dylan saying that what happened to Kennedy made him think that something similar could happen to himself. And this is interesting because it seems that perhaps the killing of Kennedy made him change direction to some extent. Maybe it was already in the pipeline to some extent, but maybe this was a seminal event that made him change direction. He was trying to be a part of that protest movement that was attempting to change America, and really the whole dream died with the shooting of Kennedy. There seems to be an idea that in the song, there seems to be an idea that perhaps we can believe in some of the conspiracy theories, but it's not really important because, as Jagger says in the Stones song, "Who Killed Kennedy? It was you and me." So everybody was in some way responsible for the death of the dream. That's what I get from it. But he's ready to talk about the various conspiracy theories, and he probably gives them the possibility of credence. He probably believes they could be true. It's not really maybe that important, but because our lack of belief in the vision is the thing that really killed the dream. But I would say that he references a lot of the conspiracy theories and seems to know a lot about them, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was open to believing that perhaps the CIA or the FBI or other people associated with the American government had something to do with Kennedy's death. So it wouldn't surprise me, but he doesn't say so directly, and there's no need to believe that either. In terms of this song, it's just a seminal moment when the dream died. So I think that possibly he's seeing it as a time when he changed, because he felt, well, nothing's ever going to change in the USA. We tried to make a difference and we failed, and now I'm just going to join the rock and roll movement and have a good time. And that's what he did. He's on record as saying that he was scared of being gunned down himself. I'm not sure, did I say that before? Did I finish my thought before? He was scared of being gunned down himself, like the Kennedy and the other people around about that time who it also happened to, like Martin Luther King, and then Robert Kennedy as well. So it wasn't a flash in the pan, it was happening a lot, and this was something that Dylan was afraid might happen to him too, as a leader of the protest movement, and perhaps it could have. And some people say that's one of the reasons why he disappeared for quite a long time, and could help explain this sudden change to rock and roll music. He'd lost belief in the protest movement, had felt that he was going to get himself shot dead for nothing, and America was never going to change, so just join the rock and roll movement and have a good time. And he references, after Kennedy's death, the Beatles come in and taking everybody's heart and minds off what happened. And the references to the Three Tramps, and that's a Kennedy reference, with the three tramps hanging around at the time that Kennedy was killed, who asked questions. But it also could be a kind of reference to the Brits coming over and taking over American music, or in a joyful kind of harmonious way, getting America happy again and back on the rock and roll track. Does Dylan feel guilty about all this? Does he think that maybe he should have continued along the line of protest, and that he kind of sold out by doing the rock and roll, as everybody at the time, so many people at the time thought he did? He doesn't really say anything about that. But from the context of this song, we might say that definitely feels a bit of guilt, even if he doesn't think he was wrong. So he seems to see America post Kennedy shooting as a kind of return to a great movie stage act or something like that, a musical, something that could be played out for everybody to see in America. That was an act for everyone to watch and enjoy, but in some way not real either, and certainly not really concerned with the betterment of people's lives, just concerned with money, riches, people having a good time, enjoyment, and watching life as it goes by as a movie or as a stage show. And to this effect, he references Wolfman Jack, and this guy who was famous DJ in the 70s, and he was also famous for his advertising, his humorous advertising roles. So he could be the perfect prophet for the new America after the death of Kennedy. And that's what I'm kind of getting from it. The rest of the song, after he introduces Jack, is all about play me this and play me that. Wolfman Jack. Wolfman Jack, he begins with speaking in tongues, so that's interesting. Maybe he's the new prophet of the new capitalistic, well, it was always capitalistic, but the new age of America that's just concerned with America as a stage show, America as a spectacle, America as something to watch, America as something to sell, not as a place that's going to look after its citizens and improve their social status. That dream had been lost with Kennedy. I'm not sure if he thinks that Kennedy was the fulcrum of all that was happening at that time, but if the death of Kennedy led to people like Dylan giving up on the dream, then it obviously had a very deep effect in all sorts of ways. So they're the three basic sections that I see. One, the actual happening itself. Two, Dylan kind of talking about himself and how he equates to how he connects to the Kennedy killing and what it meant for him. And three, post Kennedy America as a spectacle and a stage act being presented by DJ Wolfman Jack. That's what I get from it, and I think we can look at some of the lyrics to understand this better. Let's see, the beginning. I think probably the best poetry comes in the first stanza. It's very, very long, of course. It's 17 minutes. I'm not going to read it all, I don't think, but it was a dark day in Dallas, November '63, a day that will live on in infamy. That's not great poetry, but it makes a point. President Kennedy was a riding high, good day to be living and a good day to die. Well, he was riding high, yeah. It's certainly a good day for him to be living, good day for other people to be living if they thought that he was going to change things for the better. A good day to die, that might be a bit hard to get. It's a good day to die because any day is a good day to die, maybe. It's always likely and should always be ready, or does it have some deeper meaning? being led to the slaughter like a sacrificial lamb. So making his feelings very clear, being led to the slaughter like a sacrificial lamb. That's how he sees Kennedy. He said, wait a minute, boys. You know who I am? Of course we do. We know who you are. And they blew out off his head while he was still in the car. Shut down like a dog in broad daylight was a matter of timing, and the timing was right. You've got to pay debts. We've come to collect. We're going to kill you with hatred without any respect. We'll mock you and shock you, and we'll put it in your face. We've already got someone here to take your place. Well, the person who took his place was LBJ, of course, Lyndon Burt Johnson. So seems to be suggesting here that there was some kind of inner conspiracy, a group of people who were responsible for his death in some kind of way, either directly or metaphorically, and they were waiting for LBJ to take his place. The day they blew out the brains of the king, thousands were watching. No one saw a thing. It happened so quickly, so quick by surprise, right there in front of everyone's eyes. Greatest magic trick ever under the sun, perfectly executed, skillfully done. Maybe they're the best lines in the song as poetry. Seeing what happened to some kind of magic trick. Is it a magic trick because Kennedy was taken away from the people by a conspiracy, and they knew exactly what was going to happen, although the people didn't. The watching people, they didn't know that they were about to be deprived of the leader? Or is it just saying that the people lost him that night and that day, and they didn't realize that it was going to happen, and suddenly it was the difference between day and night. They had him one moment and then he was gone the next. It was like a magic trick. Either way, it's good poetry. Wolfman, oh Wolfman howl, rub-a-dub-dub, it's a murder most foul. So first reference to Wolfman. I saw somewhere that George H.W. Bush was called Timberwolf or something, and he was also kind of implicated by some people in the conspiracy. Seems unlikely, but it might be a reference to him as well, or maybe it's just the first reference to Wolfman Jack. Yeah, so I think in this first stanza you can see that Kennedy, who he calls the king, was important for Dylan, and he went to his death like a lamb to the slaughter. So that's usually associated with Jesus, right? The lamb to the slaughter. So he seems to have a high reverence for Kennedy. Let's continue a bit. Hush, little children, you will understand. The Beatles are coming. They're going to hold your hand. Slide down the banister. Go get your coat. Ferry across the Mersey and go for the throat. There's 3 bombs coming, all dressed in rags. Pick up the pieces and lower the flags. So just after this time, of course, the Beatles came across to America, and it's usually said they lifted the spirits of the people after the death of Kennedy, but maybe Dylan's seeing it in a different way, that the man who was going to make a difference is now gone, and so we can all just get on with deceiving ourselves, and the fat cats can get fatter, and in the meantime, music can be the opium of the people, and the Beatles can come across, and we can all have a good time, and we can listen to Elvis, and America can become a spectacle and a show again for everybody, but there's not going to be any real change, and the days of the protest movement are over. Now all we can do is just retreat into our personal shell, because there's not going to be any social difference after the death of Kennedy. And the Beatles are the catalyst that's going to make that happen. Interesting that he wrote an album called Bringing It All Back Home. So perhaps bringing all the superficiality of America, or superficiality of this America and its music, back into the mainstream again. Is that how he saw it? It seems to possibly suggest something like that. I'm going to Woodstock. It's the Aquarian age. Then I'll go to Altamont and sit near the stage. Put your head on the window. Let the good times roll. There's a party going on behind the grassy knoll. So he references all these famous events of the 60s, Woodstock and Altamont, where the Stones were playing, and Hell's Angels, where security guards, somebody got stabbed to death. So, of course, Woodstock associated with hippies and peace and love. And maybe Dylan is saying that all this was really just camouflage, just illusion. The reality had gone. The reality of the protest movement was lost, and all people could do was just lose themselves in false visions. And these were examples of false visions, although reality came biting back hard at Altamont with the death of those people. Put your foot on the tank and step on the grass. Try to make it to the triple underpass. Blackface singer, whiteface clown. Better not show your faces after the sun goes down. Interesting. So the old America, white people with blackened faces doing minstrel shows, keeping the black people down. No change, no difference. And the white-faced clowns, who are they? It could be people like Dylan himself, the Beatles, people who are coming around just to basically support the status quo. Just try to find some more interesting lines here. Yeah, let's see. I'm going down to the crossroads, gonna flag a ride. The place where faith, hope, and charity died. Shoot him while he runs. Shoot him while he runs, boy. Shoot him while you can. See if you can shoot the invisible man. Goodbye, Charlie. Goodbye, Uncle Sam. Frankly, my Scarlet, I don't give a damn. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, I was saying earlier about Dylan in some way equating himself with Kennedy. Kennedy was a young guy who was giving an alternative message and trying to inspire people to live in a different way, fairer way, more just way, and he got shot and killed. And Dylan, we know, feared that could happen to him as well. Whether that was a change, one of the reasons for his change to rock and roll, we don't know. But perhaps it was. But he's saying, you see if you can shoot the invisible man. Well, one of the things everybody says about Dylan is that he kind of became invisible, and especially around about this time, after the motorcycle accident in Woodstock, and then, that was a bit later actually, but yeah, one of the tendencies in his life, after probably the times era changing, is to become more and more invisible. So is he saying here, I'm not going to let you shoot me like you shot Kennedy and Martin Luther King? I'm the invisible man. And frankly, my dear, talking to Scarlett O'Hara, I don't give a damn. So the dream died with Kennedy, and I'm now going to do something different. I'm not going to be the fall guy to get shot and also share the same fate as people like Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Maybe he's saying, I'm just an artist, I did my best. These people are the real guys who are going to change things. They couldn't do it, they lost their lives. Who am I to continue in those circumstances? I'm just going to make my music, retreat into a personal shell, and do the best I can in that way for myself and for the people who like my music. What is the truth and where did it go? Ask Oswald and Ruby. They ought to know. Not sure if that's ironic or not. Maybe he's saying, well, nobody knows where the truth is. We'll never find out anyway because there are too many lies and liars around. Was it really Oswald and Ruby who killed the president? That's what they say. They ought to know. So I think it could be ironic. Shut your mouth, said the wise old owl. Business is business, and its murder most foul. So a conspiracy of silence after the death, nobody owning up to anything. Anything is possible because we just don't know. And the next stanza seems to, I don't know, there seems to be a flitting of persona between the president and Dylan. Maybe Dylan seeing himself in the shoes of the president. I'm riding in a long black Lincoln limousine, riding in the back seat next to my wife, heading straight on into the afterlife. I'm leaning to the left, got my head in her lap. Hold on, I've been led into some kind of trap. Where we ask no quarter, and no quarter do we give. We're right down the street from the street where you live. They mutilated his body, and they took out his brain. What more could they do? They piled on the pain. But his soul's not there, where it was supposed to be at. For the last 50 years, they've been searching for that. So, interesting, they even wanted to control, to have his soul, but they couldn't because that's gone. But if they could have had it, they would have had it and maybe destroyed even that so that no vestige of his vision was left. But again, and he's talking about the way they piled on the pain. They even took out his brain and examined it. It seems that Dylan here is hurting a lot, and he's hurting not just for the president, he's hurting for himself and what died for him on the day that the president died. Maybe his vision of a more equal society, a better society, where everyone could live together in a just way, and it wasn't just a movie spectacle, opium of the people for the masses, with a few rich cats enjoying all the benefits. Freedom, oh freedom, freedom above me. I hate to tell you, mister, but only dead men are free. Send me some loving, tell me no lies, throw the gun in the gutter and walk on by. Wake up, little Susie, let's go for a drive, cross the Trinity River, let's keep hope alive. Turn the radio on, don't touch the dials. Parkland Hospital, only 6 more miles. You got me dizzy, Miss Lizzie, you filled me with lead. That magic bullet of yours has gone to my head. I'm just a patsy like Patsy Cline. Never shot anyone from the front or behind. I've blood in my eye, got blood in my ear. I'm never gonna make it to the new frontier. Zaruda's film, I've seen that. Zapruder's film, I've seen that before. Seen it 33 times, maybe more. It's vile and deceitful. It's cruel and it's mean. Ugliest thing that you ever have seen. They killed him once and they killed him twice. Killed him like a human sacrifice. The day that they killed him, someone said to me, son, The age of the Antichrist has only just begun. Air Force One coming in through the gate. Johnson sworn in at 2:38. So these powerful, powerful lines. The age of the Antichrist has begun after the death of Kennedy. There's great compassion for what happened to him. It killed him once, it killed him twice, it killed him like a human sacrifice. It's vile and deceitful, it's cruel and it's mean. Ugliest thing that I ever have seen. So seems to go between the president and taking him to the hospital, but also Dylan's situation too. Maybe he's talking about himself, never shot anyone from in front or behind. I had blood in my eyes. I had blood in my eye, got blood in my ear. I'm never going to make it to the new frontier. So is that him saying that he's not going to find the land of equality that he hoped in his early incarnation as a protest singer? The dream is over. Now he's going in a new direction, like America itself has decided to go in a new direction with the death of Kennedy. It's possible. It's possible. The age of the Antichrist has begun. It is what it is, and it's murder most foul. Johnson sworn in at 2:38. Let me know when you decide to throw in the towel. It is what it is, and it's murder most foul. What's new, pussycat? What did I say? I said the soul of a nation has been torn away, and it's beginning to go into a slow decay, and it's 36 hours past Judgment Day. Wolfman Jack, he's speaking in tongues. He's going on and on at the top of his lungs. Play me a song, Mr. Wolfman Jack. Play it for me in my long Cadillac. Play me that only the good die young. Take me to the place Tom Dooley was hung. Play St. James Infirmary and the Port of King James. If you want to remember, you better write down the names. So now we're starting off with Wolfman Jack, and I'm not sure that the reference to Wolfman Jack is complimentary. It seems to be that he's a kind of typical superficial DJ who's appropriate for the new age, just churn out the music of this rock and roll America for the benefit of the people watching as a spectacle, behind which there is nothing, behind which the people suffer, behind which there is no real change. The fat cats get fatter, the poor people get poorer, and there is Wolfman Jack acting like some crazy nutcase and offering nothing real. And he's playing the songs. He was also famous for advertising, for being able to do any kind of advertising trick for the radio station, taking different voices and so on and so forth. So again, seems to be an appropriate choice for this new post-Kennedy age, which is only concerned with advertising and money and rich people getting richer. So superficial Wolfman Jack is a new prophet of the age, talking in tongues at the top of his lungs and introducing all this new rock and roll music, which has the objective of just making everybody forget about the realities of American life and the inequalities and things that the blues people had been singing about for so long, and the things that the protest movement had been referring to, including Dylan himself. Now we have Wolfman Jack, just like an anodyne for people, opium of the people. Play John Lee Hooker, play Scratch My Back, play for that strip club owner named Jack. Again, typical, just seedy characters. Guitar slim, going down slow. Play for me and for Marilyn Monroe. Of course, there's a well-known connection between Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe, but play for me and for Marilyn Monroe. Play for the people who tried to do something differently, maybe, and lost. Play, please don't let me be misunderstood. Play it for the First Lady who ain't feeling no good. Play Don Henley, play Glenn Frey. Take it to the limit and let it go by. Take me back to Tulsa, to the scene of the crime. Play another one and another one. Bites the dust. Play the old rugged cross, and in God we trust. So let's go back to the old platitudes. Let's play the old rugged cross and believe in Jesus, and get back to having all our ideas in the sky and showing charity after death and none before. Just platitudes about Jesus and the biggest platitude of all, in God we trust, or people might say it's the most important sentence of all. It depends on your point of view, but it could be seen as a huge platitude. It doesn't change anything. You say it sounds good, but all the suffering behind it continues. America hasn't changed. America is just the same. All the inequalities still there. Black people still suffering. Minorities suffering. Poor people suffering. Hollis Brown still in the same situation as before. Play Hot Pepper, Thelonious Monk, Charlie Parker, and all that junk. All that junk and all that jazz. Play something for the Birdman of Alcatraz. Play Buster Keaton, play Harold Lloyd, play Bugsy Siegel, play Pretty Boy Floyd. Play the numbers, play the odds, play Cry Me a River for the Lord of the Gods. Play number 9, play number 6, play it for Lindsay and Stevie Nicks. Play Nat King Cole, play Nature Boy, play Down in the Boondocks for Terry Malloy. Play It Happened One Night, and one night of sin, there's 12 million souls that are listening in. So that's presumably Wolfman Jack's audience of 12 million souls listening in. Play Merchant to Venice, play Merchants of Death, play Stella by Starlight for Lady Macbeth. Don't worry, Mr. President, help's on the way. Your brothers are coming. There'll be hell to pay. Brothers? What brothers? What's this about hell? Tell them we're waiting. Keep coming. We'll get them as well. Tell them we're waiting. We'll get them as well. So there again, anybody who follows in the path of President Kennedy is going to get the same treatment, share the same fate. The dream is gone. The dream is dead. Play Misty for me and that old devil moon. Play Anything Goes and Memphis in June. Play Lonely at the Top and Lonely Are the Brave. Play it for Houdini spinning round in his grave. Interesting reference to Houdini there. He said that earlier that the death of Kennedy was a big magic trick. So maybe now the deception of the people is the biggest magic trick of all. And it's so obvious that you would have a real practitioner of magic like Houdini spinning around in his grave. Play Jelly Roll Morton, play Lucille, play Deep in a Dream, and play Drive-In Wheel. Play Moonlight Sonata in F sharp, and a key to the highway for the king on his harp. Play marching through Georgia and Dumbarton's drum. Play darkness and death will come when it comes. Play Love Me or Leave Me by the great Bert Powell. Play the blood-stained banner. Play Murder Most Foul. Not the star-spangled banner, the blood-soiled banner. Play Murder Most Foul. So in a nutshell, my take on it is that this is Dylan looking back to a key time in his own life between his protest songs and his movement to rock and roll, and saying that this death had a big effect on him and on his mentality, his psyche at this time. Before, he thought there was a chance for change. After the death of Kennedy, he thought there was no further chance, and he just did what everyone else did and just retreated into his dream. He made his music on a personal level about personal things as well as he could, and he hoped people liked it. But the dream was dead, and the hope of a new America and equality for all was gone. And that's why this event is so seminal. It's a dirty deed in America's history and has resulted in the continuation of suffering when the protest movements of the time might have helped make a difference. Of course, Martin Luther King and all that was happening at that time might have made a difference, and the protest movement that he was a part of was a part of that and might have helped too. But after the death of Kennedy, there was no more hope. So I think he feels some guilt. I think that we can see a connection between the end of his folk playing and the start of his rock and roll, and equate it to the end of the dream of equality in America and the start of a new chapter in the American dream, in the sense of American illusion. Just good old America playing a stage show for everybody to watch. If you're poor, you can forget about it by just enjoying the spectacle. If you're rich, then good for you. You're probably financing it and will be getting richer and richer. So I don't know if I can bring up a little bit of the song to finish. If I do this, I risk getting blocked. But maybe if I just play it for a couple of minutes. Musically, it's okay. He comes up with a nice melody that he can basically recite his words to over a long period of time. It's not really about the music. It's about the words, of course. Let's bring it up and just listen to it a little bit, if we can. Okay.
I remember once I had an agent, my writing agent, and I was still writing for television and doing a little stand-up, and he just looked at me and he said,
Okay, guys, I don't think this is a night. I think that it's going to go through a lot of ads now. It's Saturday, and probably end up getting blocked anyway, so it's probably a good idea to not do that. I'll link to the video below, and you can all listen to it. So hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this, and think that there's some relevance to them. So thanks a lot, and see you next time.